All right, ready? I don't care about your feelings.
That was so odd. You'd be left of Lenin.
I can't believe you said that. Oh, jeez.
You have no power here.
What? Just two brothers.
It's just two brothers.
All right, we got another jam-packed episode of Just Two Brothers. I'm going to talk about a few things that are waiting, a little bit of weight hitting our American psyche right now. There's been a lot of action over the last week. One of the big things that's happened is there's a little bit of discussion in Texas regarding a groundbreaking abortion law. It seems kind of ridiculous to me in the first place that needs to be a law about it. To be honest, I don't think anybody out there is really going to question what my opinion is on that subject. But we can discuss what has happened and what's changed there. From what I understand here, there's a change as far as the timeline that they're going to allow. What did they go to? 6 weeks? They're going to allow abortions only after 6 weeks. The argument from the left is always that, they want to go, abortion on demand up until and after birth. There was a state that pushed that. Well, I don't remember what state that was. Maybe you might remember that, but
I mean, if I had to guess off the top of my head, it would be California or New York, or both.
Man, I want to say it was like Virginia or something. It was a different state. I'll see if I can find that.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
But it's a little surprising to me that it's groundbreaking because, I mean, you're literally killing another person. I think if they're going to legalize that, then we should just be able to, shoot people. Like, why is that any different? The 6 week thing, it was kind of before that happened. They talked about doing 6 weeks, and what is it, like they say like 80% of women don't know that they're pregnant before 6 weeks. So it wasn't a big deal to the lefties then, and then all of a sudden a law comes through that bans it up until that point, and then now they're up in arms about it. I think one of the greatest things that's happened is you had two really good responses to it right away. The NCAA said they're not going to have the basketball national championships in Texas. I'm going to cry all night about that. That's going to keep me up. Man, I'm really bent and just, I don't know what I'm going to do. But what's even better than that actually is, I don't know if it's the city of Portland or if it's the state. Is it the state of Oregon?
No, I'm pretty sure it's the city of Portland is going to try not allow any travel or maybe even commerce. I think that's as far as it went, as they were saying that they weren't even going to allow commerce between them and Texas.
I really should have researched that a little bit, dug into how much commerce does the state of Texas do with Portland, Oregon? and on top of that, what direction does that go? I would suspect most of that would go from Texas to Oregon. Would be my guess. I wouldn't think that there would be hardly anything from Oregon to Texas. And I can tell you what the sentiment is in Texas. So for people watching that don't know, I live in Texas. I'm not originally a Texan. I was not born here. The sentiment in Texas is that people of Portland can stick it. Like, we don't care. We really don't care. Go ahead. I mean, even without them having this ridiculous reaction to a very good abortion negotiation, which is something I don't like in the first place. I think I've been very clear about my opinions of negotiating. Typically, it only helps the left. But then again, you can already see the writing on the wall, just like we discussed before, that okay, this is a win for the conservatives, or they're chalking it up as a win, but the fight is not over. They play the long game. They are going to play the long game. They're going to go abortions up until, I'm going to say, at a minimum a few hours after birth, maybe even days is what they would like to do. And that's where their push is going to be. People are pretty happy because it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, Texas can do that, which every state should be able to do whatever they want. In my opinion, it's not a social. The federal government's job is not to push a social agenda, what anybody's opinion is. It's supposed to be neutral ground, which is not what the case is. And depending on the administration that's in at the time, really depends on, and that's no secret of what's happening here. The leftists have control. They're going to push it and push it and push it and push it. And I just really enjoy seeing it on a state-to-state level. Bring it. Do you think Texas really cares about what Portland thinks? I mean, come on. We don't care at all. You know what? Take California out. We don't care about that either. We'd like to build a wall between Texas and California, to be honest.
Yeah, I think about half the country wouldn't mind seeing just California just kind of float away. So, to your point there, when you're talking about the federal government, I mean, I know it's kind of been thrown out of the books, but the 10th Amendment is pretty clear in that the powers derived that, aren't given directly from the Constitution are supposed to go to the states. Now, I know that we have pretty much, for some reason, we've thrown that away, and the people have been okay with that. But, this is a specific scenario, especially when it comes to, abortion law, where it should be left up to the state. The federal government has no standing. I know that the people are going to come out and try and say, oh, well, Roe v. Wade. They somehow tried to read a woman's right to kill someone else in the Constitution. I have no idea where they found that. I know that this probably won't lead to Roe being overturned. Okay, but if it leads us to a spot where we get to talk about this and renegotiate it, I think would be a really good thing for everybody. Because, to be honest, I haven't heard one good argument about why abortion should even be legal. I haven't heard one. Yeah, go ahead and say, here's what the argument's going to happen. If I were to talk to someone on the left about this, they would start by saying, yeah, but what about in rape and incest? And right there, you already know that they've lost the ground and that they have no true moral argument, because they have to go to 1%, less than 1% of the cases.
It's exceedingly rare. It's exceedingly
to try and justify the whole thing. That's just not how it works. After that, once you peel away that layer, you really get down to the truth, which is, okay, is that a life or is it not? And yes, you can say that you're just a clump of cells. Well, let me tell you, as an anatomy professor, we're all just clumps of cells. We're all sacks of water too. So if you really want to, distill human nature down to just that, well, guess what? Then there is no difference. And, the next part of it, most of these people have never actually looked at a diagram of how a baby develops, how an infant develops. Because if you look at that, there is no way that you can look at that diagram and say, oh yeah, it's a human there, definitely not a human there. I don't buy it. I haven't heard a single good argument. Yeah, go ahead and try and say the next one. The next one is you're going to try and say that, oh, it's somebody else feeding off of another, almost as if a parasitic relationship. Or, if I were to hit someone in the road and they're dying, I don't have to give them my blood to save them. Okay, that's another argument. Yeah, that might be true. You don't have to give them your blood, but you cannot kill that person either. You cannot actively go over there and say, oh, well, he looks done. Ping! Because that's what happens in an abortion. You go in and you tear the baby limb from limb. So